They told you that love would save everything. They promised that the right woman would heal your wounds, that she would be the answer to the emptiness you feel deep inside, that you just needed to find her for everything to finally make sense in your life. You believed it, not out of weakness, but out of emotional conditioning that started when you were just a child. Since childhood, you were taught that love is the solution to all your problems, that the woman is the prize you must win, that your life will only be complete when she's by your side, holding your hand. But what if I told you this is a lie? What if everything you learned about love is just an illusion carefully constructed to keep you trapped in an endless cycle? The love that men seek isn't love. It's anesthesia for the pain they refuse to face. You don't love the woman standing in front of you. You love the sensation she gives you when she's around. You don't seek true connection with another human being. You seek escape from your own reality that you're too afraid to confront. What if Nietzsche had warned us that this isn't love, but addiction in its purest form? Today you're going to understand why you get attached so easily and why she has so much power over you and your emotions. So hit that like button right now, because what you're about to discover in the next few minutes will completely change the way you see your relationships and yourself forever. The idealization of women as escape is the first step to your emotional prison that you've built with your own hands. The woman becomes an emotional crutch that support you use to avoid falling down, but that prevents you from learning to walk alone and stand on your own 2 feet. You project onto her everything you don't have the courage to build alone: your peace of mind, your happiness, your purpose in life, your validation as a human being. She becomes the center of your existence, the sun around which your entire world revolves, and you confuse this suffocating dependence with true love. But it's not love at all. It's temporarily cured neediness. It's the momentary relief that an addict feels when consuming their drug of choice. And like any drug that exists, the effect wears off eventually, and you need more, always more, never satisfied. You start chasing the high, desperately trying to recreate that initial feeling that made everything seem perfect and possible. But the more you chase it, the more it eludes you, slipping through your fingers like water. This is the nature of addiction wearing the mask of romance. The invisible mechanism of emotional dopamine works brutally on you in ways you can't even comprehend. Each message from her, each smile she gives you, each gesture of affection releases a chemical discharge in your brain that makes you feel alive and worthy. You become dependent on female validation in a way you don't even notice happening. Small gestures from her become fuel for your self-esteem, and when she withdraws those gestures for any reason, you fall apart completely like a house of cards. You create a vicious cycle of withdrawal. When she pulls away from you, then comes the offer. When she returns to you, then the reward, that wonderful feeling of relief washing over you, and finally complete dependence on her presence. You're trapped in this cycle and don't even know it's happening. This is the prison you built for yourself with your own beliefs and fears. Every bar of this cage was constructed from your own insecurities and neediness. And the tragic irony is that you hold the key to your own liberation, but you're too afraid to use it. Because using it means facing yourself. And that's the most terrifying thing of all for most men. Nietzsche saw love as a mirror reflecting back at you, not as salvation from your problems. He understood deeply that when you say you love someone, you actually love yourself through her eyes. You love the version of you that she reflects back. You love how you feel when you're with her in those moments. You love the idea you've built about who you are beside her. The romantic love they sold you through movies and songs is a philosophical lie that serves to keep you weak, dependent, trapped in an eternal search for something that will never complete you no matter how hard you try. Because the hard truth is this, and you need to hear it: no one can complete you except yourself. You're already complete right now, but you were taught to believe you're only half of a whole, that you need another person to become whole and functional. And as long as you believe this fundamental lie, you'll be manipulable, controllable, predictable in every way. You'll continue making the same mistakes over and over again, wondering why nothing ever changes in your life. You'll keep entering the same destructive patterns with different faces. Different names, but the same dynamic repeating endlessly, until you wake up and realize that the problem isn't out there in the world of relationships. The problem is in here, in the mirror, staring back at you with desperate eyes. Now let's talk about her invisible power that she wields over you. And pay close attention, because this isn't about malice or evil intentions, it's about strategy and survival. Women have learned over thousands of years and millennia to exercise influence instead of force in every situation. While men developed muscles and competed physically in the outside world, women developed emotional intelligence and learned to navigate the invisible currents of social power that exist in every interaction. Emotional control instead of physical control has been their weapon of choice. They don't manipulate out of malice or because they're bad people, but out of instinct, out of historical necessity for survival in a world where brute force wasn't an option available to them throughout history. The female emotional reading is frighteningly accurate when you really think about it. She identifies your weaknesses quickly, sometimes faster than you do yourself, and she knows exactly how to use that information. Intuition as a tool of advantage isn't mysticism or magic. It's sharp observation, it's attention to details you ignore completely. It's sensitivity to behavioral patterns you don't even realize you exhibit every single day. She knows exactly what you need to hear at any given moment. And not because she's evil or manipulative by nature, but because she's intelligent, because she pays attention to everything, because she understands the game while you're still trying to figure out the basic rules. This is not a criticism of women at all, it's simply understanding the dynamics of power that exist between men and women. It's recognizing that different strategies evolve for different circumstances throughout human history. And pretending these dynamics don't exist doesn't make you enlightened or progressive, it makes you blind and vulnerable. You confuse strategy with purity, and this is your fatal mistake that costs you everything. You see tenderness and warmth where she sees opportunity for influence and control. You see unconditional love and devotion where she sees bond construction and emotional investment. What you romantically call love with all your heart, she pragmatically calls bonding, connection, emotional investment that may or may not pay off. And there's nothing wrong with that approach. The problem is you're playing a completely different game than she is. You're playing with an open heart exposed while she plays with a strategic mind protected. And in this disparity lies your guaranteed defeat every single time. You're bringing a knife to a gunfight, metaphorically speaking, of course. You're vulnerable and exposed while she's protected and calculated. You're showing all your cards while she's keeping hers close to her chest. This isn't a battle of good versus evil, it's a mismatch of awareness and understanding. She knows what game is being played while you're still in denial that there's a game at all. The masculine error is deep and systematic throughout our entire society. You don't love her as a person, you love her validation of your existence. You seek emotional redemption and salvation, not a genuine relationship with another human being. You want her to heal the wounds your mother left when you were young, to fill the void your father didn't fill with his absence, to say the words you never heard growing up. You entrust her with fixing what's broken inside you instead of doing the work yourself. You surrender your power willingly to escape the internal responsibility of healing yourself, building yourself up, becoming whole on your own without anyone's help. You confuse emotional dependence and neediness with romantic destiny and soulmate connections. When you feel that suffocating need to be with her every moment, when you can't go a single day without talking to her, when your peace and happiness depend entirely on her presence, you call it intense love, deep connection, soulmates destined to be together. But the truth that you refuse to see is you fall in love with the fantasy in your head, not the real person standing in front of you. You create an idealized version of her in your mind and fall in love with that creation. With that projection, with that myth, you built yourself out of your own needs and desires. And when she inevitably fails to live up to this impossible standard you've created, you blame her instead of examining your own unrealistic expectations that were doomed from the start. You constructed a goddess from a mortal woman and then felt betrayed when she revealed herself to be human all along. This is your madness, not her failure. This is your delusion, not her deception. Subscribe to the channel right now and turn on those notifications, because this knowledge can free you from years of unnecessary suffering and emotional pain that's been holding you back. The silent game of power works according to principles Nietzsche understood deeply in his philosophical work. Whoever needs less controls more in any relationship. It's that simple when you break it down. If you need her more than she needs you, you've already lost the game before it even started, before the first move was made. Whoever observes more suffers less in the long run. When you're blindly in love and can't see straight, you stop observing reality, you stop thinking critically about the situation, you accept everything without question or hesitation. But whoever maintains the emotional distance necessary to observe the patterns clearly, the contradictions in behavior, the games being played, that person suffers less because they're not emotionally invested to the point of losing reason and logic. Whoever maintains composure and self-control maintains power in the relationship. The moment you beg and plead, the moment you despair and panic, the moment you show you can't live without her, you surrender all your power completely. The game of love is a game of instincts and biology, not moral purity or romantic ideals. It's not about who's a better person with higher morals. It's about who better understands the dynamic at play, who maintains emotional control when things get difficult, who doesn't get lost in the fantasy and illusion. This isn't cynicism or bitterness talking, this is reality and truth. And reality doesn't care about your feelings or your romantic notions about how things should be. Reality operates on its own principles, indifferent to your desires and your pain. The sooner you accept this, the sooner you can operate effectively within it. How were you trained to be dependent from such a young age? Culture spent centuries teaching men to idolize women and put them on pedestals. You grew up watching movies where the man completely sacrifices himself for the woman, where he gives up everything he has, where he proves his love through self-destruction and suffering. Movies and romantic narratives reinforce emotional submission as if it were virtue and honor. You were taught that being a good man means putting her on a pedestal high above you, treating her like a princess who can do no wrong, making her the center of your universe and your reason for existing. Your masculine upbringing stimulated saviors and white knights, not leaders and men of strength. You were taught to save women from their problems, to protect them from the harsh world, to be the hero of their story and rescue them, but never to be the protagonist of your own story living for yourself. The childish belief planted in you from early on is simple and devastating to your development. She will complete me and make me whole. And you carry this belief into adult life like a curse, desperately seeking that person who will fill the void inside, who will give meaning to your existence and reason to wake up. The fatal mistake is this, and it destroys men. Loving to be loved back, not by genuine choice. You love because you need to be loved back desperately, because you need the validation to feel worthy, because you need confirmation that you're worthy, valuable, enough as a man. And as long as your love depends on this reciprocity and validation, you'll always be dependent, always vulnerable, always controllable by others. You're a puppet dancing on strings you don't even see pulling you. Your emotions are being orchestrated by external forces while you believe you're acting from genuine feeling and authentic desire. This is the ultimate prison because you don't even realize you're imprisoned. The chains are invisible, which makes them all the more effective at keeping you bound. Now comes the unmasking of the illusion, and this is going to hurt more than anything. She's not an angel sent from heaven, not a villain from hell, not a fantasy from your imagination. She's human, instinctive, emotionally intelligent in ways you can't comprehend. She has her own fears that keep her up at night, her own insecurities she hides, her own survival strategies passed down through generations. You're the one who projected the myth onto her like a movie screen. You took a normal person with flaws and transformed her into a goddess, a savior, the meaning of your life and everything good. And when she stops acting according to the script you wrote in your head without her knowledge, you call it coldness, change, betrayal of your trust. But the truth is you never saw the real person behind the mask, only the idealization you created from your needs. You fell in love with the idea of her that existed in your mind, not with who she really is as a human being. And when reality doesn't match the fantasy you built, you suffer immensely. But who caused this suffering that tears you apart? Her, for being human and flawed? Or you for creating impossible expectations based on an illusion and fantasy? The answer is obvious when you're honest with yourself for once. You created this prison with your own hands. You forged these chains link by link. You wrote this tragedy from beginning to end. And now you're living in the story you created, wondering why it hurts so much, wondering why nothing feels right. The hardest point of all is this truth you must accept. You're the addict, not her. Not her? You go back to her out of emotional withdrawal and desperation, not love or genuine connection. When you break up and you feel that desperate emptiness consuming you, that overwhelming need to return to her, that's not true love at all. It's withdrawal crisis like any drug addict experiences. It's your brain begging and screaming for the dose of dopamine it got used to receiving regularly. You accept crumbs and scraps because you need the sensation so desperately. She gives you the minimum attention possible and you're satisfied, you're grateful, you convince yourself it's enough to survive on, because you're actually desperate for anything that relieves the pain of withdrawal even temporarily. You give up boundaries and self-respect to avoid abandonment and being alone. You tolerate disrespect that would make others walk away. You accept behaviors you know deep down you shouldn't accept. You betray your own values and principles that you once held dear. All to not lose her, all to not face the pain of being alone with yourself? And this isn't love by any definition, this is emotional dependence disguised as romance and devotion. This is addiction wearing the mask of devotion and commitment. This is weakness pretending to be strength, cowardice disguised as loyalty. You call it fighting for love when really you're just too afraid to face yourself in the mirror, without her reflection validating your existence. But there's a different path available to you, and Nietzsche points directly to it if you're willing to listen. Stop seeking salvation in her and start seeking it in yourself where it belongs. The only person who can save you from this prison is yourself, no one else. The only person who can fill your void and make you complete is yourself and your own development. The only person who can give true meaning to your life is yourself through your actions. Break the bond of necessity and transform it into genuine choice and freedom. You need to reach the point where being with her is a conscious choice you make, not a desperate necessity you can't escape from. Where you can live well alone and thrive and choose to be with her because she adds value to your already complete life, not because she fills a hole that would swallow you otherwise. Reclaim your emotional power by stopping needing her validation. The moment you stop needing her to feel complete, you become free in ways you never imagined. And paradoxically, the moment you become free and whole, you become more attractive, more interesting, more valuable to everyone around you, because love only exists when there's no dependence or neediness involved. Think about it deeply and honestly. True love is only possible between two complete people who choose to be together freely, not between two desperate halves trying to become whole through each other like puzzle pieces. To love without illusion is to love with freedom and clarity. It's seeing the person as they really are, with all their flaws and qualities laid bare, and choosing to be with them anyway. Not because you need to for survival, but because you want to from genuine desire. Not because they complete you like a missing piece, but because they complement a life that's already complete and fulfilling. This is the love that Nietzsche would recognize as authentic and worthy of a strong man. This is the love that comes from abundance, not scarcity. From strength, not weakness. From choice, not desperation. Comment below what you think of this perspective, and if you've been through this experience. I want to know your experience and your story and what happened to you. You weren't deceived by her at all when you look at it objectively. She didn't lie to you, didn't manipulate you, didn't deceive you intentionally. It was you who deceived yourself with the stories you told. It was you who built a fantasy in your mind and then got disappointed when reality didn't match up to your impossible expectations and standards. It was you who voluntarily surrendered your power because you were afraid to take responsibility for your own life, your own happiness, your own development as a man. The story you told yourself is the prison where you live every single day. The narrative that you need her desperately, that you can't live without her by your side, that she's essential for your happiness and well-being. That narrative is the chain that binds you tightly. And the key to that chain has always been in your hand waiting for you. When you stop being an emotional addict dependent on external validation, you can finally love authentically. True love isn't necessity or desperation, it's abundance and overflow. True love isn't dependence or neediness, it's freedom and choice. True love isn't fear of losing someone, it's gratitude for having them while it lasts. When you become complete in yourself through your own work, when you build a life that has meaning regardless of having someone by your side, when you develop the ability to be well alone and enjoy your own company, then and only then you're ready to truly love another person. Because then you don't need anyone to complete you or save you, you simply choose someone to share your complete life with. And that conscious choice, free from necessity and desperation and fear, is the only kind of love that's truly worthwhile and lasting. This is the love that transforms lives instead of destroying them. This is the love that builds empires instead of burning them down. This is the love that a complete man offers to a complete woman, and together they create something greater than either could alone. Not because they need each other, but because they choose each other from a place of strength and wholeness. Hit that like button now if this video opened your eyes to reality, share it with that friend who desperately needs to hear this message today, and subscribe to the channel because there's much more content like this coming your way soon. The truth hurts when you first hear it, but it's the truth that sets you free from your chains.